Support comes from Sunnyside Village Co-housing. Live in mutual support with neighbors of all ages in a co-housing village of cottages in Marysville. It's the best of both worlds. Active rural living by Puget Sound with easy access to Seattle. More at sunnysidevillagecohousing.com.
Support comes from Seattle Restored, revitalizing Seattle neighborhoods with creativity and commerce. Over 95 vacant storefronts have been transformed into vibrant pop-up shops, window art installations, and artist residences. Explore current and past locations at seattlerestored.org.
Welcome to Meet Me Here, your weekly guide to arts and culture worth leaving your house for. I'm Jeannie Yandel, and I'm pretty bummed about what I'm going to say next. The days are getting shorter. The light is different. And we're all headed, once again, into those fall and winter days where we wake up to darkness, get a few hours of gray, and then go back to darkness. A lot of Seattleites call this time of year the Big Dark. And while many of us, including me, talk about the Big Dark with a sense of foreboding or resignation, Cascade PBS arts editor Brangien Davis has found some reasons to look forward to the Big Dark. Reasons that include Seattle's new waterfront park and giant puppets. We'll find out more in a minute, but first, something's happening this week that I'm really excited about. This week, the Seattle Symphony's new music director is taking the stage at Benaroya Hall to conduct. Her name is Xian Zhang, and she's the first woman and person of color to direct the Seattle Symphony in its more than 120-year history. She'll be conducting the symphony on October 2nd, 4th, and 5th for a program called Xian Conducts Rachmaninoff. The program includes Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 2, which we're listening to right now. Now, you're probably familiar with conducting, where a person stands in front of an orchestra with a wand and directs the orchestra through pieces of music. In her Seattle Symphony welcome video, though, Xian describes conducting as a kind of conversation with the orchestra. And she says, because the Seattle Symphony plays at such a high level, the players respond to even her most subtle movements. I'd never really thought about conducting as just one side of a conversation before, so I'm really looking forward to see her in conversation with the symphony this week. To pregame, I'm listening to Seattle Now's interview with Xian. We'll have a link to that interview and to get tickets for the program in our show notes. If you want some more options for stuff to do, we've got you. Check out the weekend warm-up every Thursday around 12:45 on Soundside on KUOW or in the Meet Me Here feed every Friday.
Support comes from Sunnyside Village Co-housing. Live in mutual support with neighbors of all ages in a co-housing village of cottages in Marysville. It's the best of both worlds. Active rural living by Puget Sound with easy access to Seattle. More at sunnysidevillagecohousing.com.
There's a new 20-acre waterfront park in downtown Seattle filled with public art. And it took an earthquake to make that happen. Okay, perhaps that's an oversimplification, but the 2001 Nisqually earthquake did change the future of the downtown waterfront between Belltown and Pioneer Square. It severely damaged the long-standing, beloved but ugly viaduct, a two-tiered road structure from the 1950s that was part of Highway 99. And when you drove on the top level of the viaduct, you could get some fantastic views of Elliott Bay. But for everyone not driving on the viaduct, no views, no water access, just lots and lots of traffic noise. The city of Seattle spent more than a decade tearing down the viaduct, collecting public comment, and building the new waterfront park, with a hefty investment in some new public art. Brangien Davis is the arts editor at Cascade PBS and the host of the Cascade PBS show Art by Northwest. She spent a lot of time at the waterfront park over the last month, and she says some of the new art at the waterfront is best experienced after dark.
First of all, I should say I was pretty committed to the viaduct. So I originally was very sad to see it torn down, and now I've just completely changed my mind. I love the new waterfront. I'm glad the viaduct is gone. And I know, radical change of heart.
Wow.
I mean, it was our big, clunky infrastructure.
It was, but it was
But
ours.
it was ours. And you could get great views from the top deck. You can finally get to the water, really get to the water in Seattle, which was missing for a long time. And in addition, they put a lot of thinking into art all along that expanse.
Yeah, let's talk about some of that art. First, I want to talk about an installation by the artist Anne Hamilton. It's called Guests. Behind a black perforated screen wall, more than 36 giant figures hang suspended from above. They have these blocky papier-mâché heads with human features. Their clothing is made of this colorful, drapey sailboat sail fabric. And Brangien, you've visited Guests more than once at this point. Can you tell us more about it?
It's a giant installation of 42 oversized puppets.
What's oversized?
Well, they're like 2.5 people tall, human people of average size. They're very tall. And the easiest way to sort of locate it is hiding under the Overlook Walk. So there's that big swoop that goes down from the Pike Place Market right down to the water. And under that swoop is a road and a parking garage. And so if you walk down to the road and look under, it's really sort of nestled under the Overlook Walk. It's kind of has this undersea grotto feeling.
Ooh.
Where these puppets are all just inside this little cave waiting for you to see them. So once you get up closer to them, then you see, these puppets are 2 people tall, and they're floating, bobbing. They're gentle giants that are just quietly shifting in the breeze. And they have sort of large and clunky heads, and they have long gowns, you might call them, long fabric sheets that are their clothing.
Yeah.
Those are all different colors, and they have some slightly mysterious markings on them. Maybe they look like flags. Maybe they look like semaphore flags or sails on sailboats. And they're just sitting there, sort of shuffling around in this cave-like space, waiting for you to see them.
When you went during the daytime, what did it look like?
So when I went during the daytime, it was very difficult to see. There's a screen. There's a black perforated screen in front of the puppets. I mean, in the middle of the day, it was just black. The screen was totally obscured.
Yeah.
By, I guess, the light just hitting it straight on. But they've put these little peepholes in the screen.
Okay.
And you had to get very close, and put your eye right up next to the peephole to look at the puppets.
Yeah.
So we've got peepholes and puppets. It was a little underwhelming in broad daylight.
Okay. What's it like at night, though? What happened when you went at night?
It was really cool. When you go at night, it's kind of a revelation. They're fully lit. The screen almost disappears. This perforated black screen, it's just gone. You can kind of still see the panes of it, which is why from a couple blocks away, it looks like a giant stained glass window because you see the black frames and then you just see the color. And you can't even really make out the heads from far away, but you see something, this sort of shifting, billowy color moving behind there. And then you get closer and closer, and it's like you're standing at the foot of a giant puppet theater. You haven't seen this before. So they're a little bit off-putting. They have that uncanny valley kind of thing where why are they here? And I think they're welcoming.
Yeah.
I think they're welcoming figures. I know that was the artist's intention. And also they're kind of looking out. They face the water, so they're looking out toward the sea and sort of, seeing what's going on out there, seeing what's coming our way. So they have a little bit of mystery and a fantastical element when you get up close.
What is the vibe of being down at the waterfront at night? I know you specifically returned so you could check out these puppets.
Yes.
Does it feel safe?
I'm not saying I want to go down there at 2:00 in the morning, but I was down there just sort of at dusk and just after, and there were still tons of people moving around, and most things are lit up. There's so much light, and whether that's from, the Great Wheel, which is there, or the ferries coming in, and all these new installations that are lit. There's also the aquarium's new ocean pavilion that Oculus you can stand under. That's lit and very cool at night to see the manta rays and the shark going by. So there's a lot of light and there's a lot of people. And something else that happened when I was down there looking at the night puppets, it was a little cooler, and so I decided I'm just going to walk a little on the waterfront. And I was also looking for another new installation there, which is called Family, and it's by Qwalsius-Shaun Peterson. And it's these 3 figures that I knew were coming soon, and I wasn't sure how soon. But when I was walking just by, I saw the area I knew it was going to be installed in had this, caution tape around, and there were some guys in vests and hard hats, and they looked like they were waiting for something. And so I went over and said, "Are you waiting for the figures?" And they said, yep, they should be coming down the road here any minute. And then I was like, okay, well, I am sticking around to see the figures' arrival. And sure enough, this flatbed truck drove up, and it had these tall, 10 to 12 feet tall wooden carved figures on their backs. And they drove up and spent a lot of time putting them upright. And I was just really excited to be there, happened to be there, for that installation.
Yeah. Where is Family in relation to guests?
It's actually very close to the guests, the puppets. So you would cross the street from where the puppets are, wind your way around, sort of around the ocean pavilion. And it's 3 figures carved from wood. They have very round heads, very simple faces, a few stripes of color on their front. These 3 are all facing the water, and they're surrounded by plants. There's lots of full flora around their feet, and they're lit from the bottom. So you can really see their very serene, calm faces looking toward the water. And you can get up pretty close to them, too. And it's cool to see the carving, the work that went into making this family.
How big is Family?
Family is 3 figures, and each is about 10 to 12 feet tall. They're different heights, slightly different heights, like a real family. The artist says it's a mother, father, and child, but they're pretty abstracted. So the family is done in a Coast Salish style, but the artist says that it's more of an amalgamation of forms. They're very calm. They're looking up and out.
Yeah.
So they're watchers.
Brangien, one of the things that has struck me as you've described Guests by Anne Hamilton and Family by Qwalsius-Shaun Peterson is that all of these figures are facing in the direction that many of us face when we're on the waterfront.
Yeah.
Of course, we're turning towards the water. We're looking at the sky. We're looking at the mountains. We're looking at the ferries in West Seattle if it's clear enough. And there is something welcoming about that because it feels as though you're being invited to stand and look out at the water and the mountains with these pieces.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's what we all kind of do when we go down there. The first thing is you look out at the water. I mean, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
And I think the whole, Overlook Walk is oriented towards these incredible views of the water. And so you're right. It makes total sense that these artworks are facing that way too.
I know you said you're not trying to tell anybody to go to the waterfront at like 2:00 in the morning. I mean, in December, you could go down there at 5 p.m. and you would probably get a similar experience to what you were just talking about.
4 p.m.
Right. 4 p.m. in December.
Sorry.
Not that makes me cringe at all. I do wonder, though, the other experience of being down at the waterfront during the daytime is that you can see the water and the mountains and everything else much better. So what do you think you get out of being at the waterfront at night that you might miss during the day?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it looks completely different when you're looking out at the water at night versus daytime, but that's when you have those sort of magical glimmers of the fairy lights, and you can see the great wheel, which is always doing some crazy graphic light show. And
True.
But also it's quieter. It's less crowded for sure. And you can take a little more time with some of these art installations. So I think going down there, even in the evening, it just, takes everything down, and it's still such a beautiful way to see the city. The other thing that we haven't even mentioned is like the cityscape. Once you're done admiring the water, turn around and seeing all the lit skyscrapers we have now. It's a pretty great view. It's like the view, coming in from the Bainbridge Ferry or something, where it's like, wow, that's a pretty cool skyscape.
It's clear by how you describe both guests and family that you really like these pieces. What do you like so much about them?
Well, I think in both cases, it's a little bit of the surprise that I like. We've been told about all these art pieces coming to the waterfront for so long, and you can see the renderings, but you never really know exactly what they're going to look like. And so the surprise of them, and just like, oh, well, that looks great. There's that for starters. And then also, I do like that they're both, figurative. I'm a big fan of abstract art as well, but it is nice to see these humanoid people, or whatever they are, joining us. That's the thing that is remarkable to me about the waterfront, is just like, as soon as it opened, it seemed like everybody was down there, both tourists and locals.
Yeah.
So just that aspect of, there are people here, and here are some representations of people here, and here's a family. Even the names speak volumes, that this is a family and represents families that have been, in this region for thousands of years. And then here are the guests, these slightly strange puppety guests that are coming over for dinner. Best scene at night. And it all feels like we're being joined by these sort of curious compatriots of some kind.
Brangien Davis is the arts editor at Cascade PBS and the host of the Cascade PBS show Art by Northwest. Brangien, thanks so much for coming in and talking with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was fun.
Brangien also told us about another reason to visit the waterfront in the evening. On October 10th from 6 to 11 p.m., Pier 66 will be transformed into a roller rink for a night of roller boogie. The event is free and all ages, and we'll have a link with more information in our show notes. Thanks for listening to Meet Me Here. Meet Me Here is produced by KUOW, a proud member of the NPR network. It's hosted by Katie Campbell, Dyer Oxley, and me, Jeannie Yandel. And it's produced by Kyle Norris, Brandy Fullwood, and Matt Martin. You can find out more and support the show at kuow.org/meet. And if you're enjoying Meet Me Here, let us know. Rate and review the show wherever you listen. It really helps. If you have an arts and culture event you want to tell us about, email us at arts@kuow.org. That's arts@kuow.org. I'm Jeannie Yandel. See you soon.
On the latest Sound Politics, Jimmy Kimmel is back on air in Seattle. The hiatus and return highlighted a consolidating media landscape that impacts what you see on TV. It's a lot bigger than Jimmy. We'll break down the mergers that are taking place and how those companies are trying to gain favor with federal regulators, with an expert from WSU. That's Sound Politics, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Ton Vin, host of the Seattle Eats podcast. I want you to join me, Kenshi Lopez-Alt, and Rachel Bell for a special live taping of the show. We'll share insider tips, foodie secrets, and answers to your biggest dining questions. Join us Monday, November 10th at 7:30 p.m. at Town Hall Seattle. Find out more and get tickets at kuow.org/events.
KUOW live events are sponsored by Finney Ridge Painting.